8 reasons being PC doesn't mean treating people with respect. Hey, it's Prince of Queens, and I just figured I should make a point-by-point dissection of the concept of quote-unquote political correctness supposedly being such a good and virtuous concept based around treating people with respect, because that trope is so ridiculously untrue for a number of reasons. But in this video, I will focus on just 8 of them. Reason number 1, the name itself is a dead giveaway. Politically correct does not sound a whole lot like treating people with respect to me. The term isn't KS, which could stand for kind and sensitive. It's politically correct. And it's always been used as a description for the types of things that the left advocates for, which is almost unanimously treating women and minorities with respect and other special treatment potentially, but certainly not so much the other way around. Now, I'm gay, so political correctness from the left has benefited me in the past, but I also know that I shouldn't use my status in some circles as basically a protected class to be a jerk to straight people, because in other circles, I sometimes get treated badly. But apparently, I'm one of the few on the left who thinks this way, so... Also, as I mentioned in my recent video called Further Thoughts on Language Policing, it is possible that what is technically politically correct culturally can change, like in the case of the Dixie Chicks getting in trouble for speaking negatively about George W. Bush. However, because of the fact that it's generally people from the right that use the term politically correct as a negative, and leftists are dead set in defending being PC as a virtuous act that comes from their kind-spirited nature, it's always the right weaponizing the term PC. Nobody ever mentions that the right has their own politically correct standards when they are in power, but I personally think that leftists should. They should say something is non-PC if a right-wing person gets offended about it during the Trump presidency, some semantics or whatever. Reason number 2 that PC doesn't mean treating people with respect is that people use it very carelessly to say things like that all Trump supporters must be racist, and in many cases, they're flat out lying about them. This viral video clip with an extraordinarily dishonest caption is precisely what I'm talking about. If you watch the clip associated with this meme, it's only about 45 seconds long, and in no way does any person say that they are upset that they can't say racist things. Rather, they say that they can't say practically anything at all without being called a racist. I'll link the video in the description so you can go check it out for yourself. You see, we've all seen countless people be called racists because they supported Trump, but almost nobody bothers to ask them why they supported Trump. I have seen people be called racists for saying that all cops aren't bastards because they have relatives on the force. Like somebody's like, all cops aren't evil, my dad is a cop, and that guy gets called a racist. Seriously. I have been called a misogynist more times than I can count for disagreeing with women online. Almost always, I'm going to say always, something that had nothing to do with any sort of misogyny. Like I'm saying Hillary Clinton is a liar. You're a misogynist. Hillary Clinton is not a liar. You wouldn't say that about a man. If political correctness was about treating people with respect, people who believe that being PC was the right way to be wouldn't call people evil bigots for what boils down to guilt by association. I mean, I'm not even a Trump supporter, but I have been called a misogynist Trump apologist because I criticized Hillary Clinton. That's not a respectful way to treat me. Reason number 3 why PC nonsense is not about treating people with respect is simply that it is chock full of double standards. It is quote-unquote politically correct to say that black people can't be racist and that women can't be sexist, thereby excusing their own often abusive and even violent behavior. It's basically politically correct to think that beating up the right person is reduced to some insignificant form of mild fuckery because people who looked like that person did something bad to somebody that looks like certain other minorities. So beat him up. It's fine. It's politically correct. As a gay male in a PC climate that places ultimate saint-like status on all females that adopt the regressive leftist fourth-wave intersectional feminist ideology, I have basically, in so many words, been told that I am not as queer as a heterosexual woman that occasionally fools around with girls because she defines as non-binary. At which point, this non-binary feminist was able to be extremely condescending and rude to me in the conversation, but she got away with it because a non-binary queer femme has more privileges in the oppression Olympics than I do as a gay man who is several times as likely to actually be discriminated against for being queer. It makes absolutely no sense. Talk about damaging double standards. Reason number 4 that the concept of political correctness makes no sense if you are trying to argue that it is just about treating people with respect is that it is inherently self-contradictory in terms of Islam. People act like Islam is this extremely progressive religion of peace because they enjoy minority status in the West, probably mainly because of Clinton Incorporated's oil ties to Islamic governments. It doesn't matter that Islam is extremely misogynistic, basically beyond compare, homophobic, and regressive in just about every other way as a religion. No, PC people would rather say that Christianity is the real problem endlessly as a constant deflection, and ignore the types of things that happen in places like Germany, France, and Sweden when Islamic populations rise and mix with Western cultures. Reason number 5 that PC people are assholes is that it allows for apostates who should supposedly be a protected class to be thrown under the bus in a really nasty fashion once they are deserters. I would know, I'm gay, and I know a number of black people who ditched the regressive SJW mentality, but they got treated maybe the worst of all because they are viewed as traitors. They are called coons, Uncle Toms, and quote-unquote house niggers. They get told by black SJWs that they hope the cops shoot them, and I imagine they get a ton of threats. Gay guys get treated horribly by supposedly PC people these days too, because it's like we can't win. They'll only like gay white men as long as we sacrifice ourselves to feminism, which is a philosophy that has core tenets that attempt to make us deny who we are as men, and also lies about us by saying that gay men benefit from oppressing women, when the truth is that we just want to live our lives and have fun without being bossed around by women. And feminists seem to want to exert power over us by lying about our intentions. Reason number 6 that PC people are just crazy jerks is that their censorship and trigger warning lunacy is endless. They'll censor how you speak and yet simultaneously be extremely disrespectful at any given opportunity because they have these complete double standards about who gets to be offended. I think as an experiment, some non-SJWs who are in university should start trying to come up with some triggers that they supposedly have, or maybe they really do have, in an effort to show the SJWs the mirror in regards to how ridiculous they sound. I mean, imagine going into a political science class and saying, "Hey, you should have really given a trigger warning when you mentioned 9/11 because my brother died in Iraq and it's really hard for me to think about that." I would love to see if feminists offered you sympathy or if they would just be completely dismissive and attack you and say you were trivializing trigger warnings. Reason number 7 that PC culture is not about treating people with respect is that the response to the violations of these codes of ethics are almost always far worse than the supposed crime. They basically claim that no amount of vengeance towards an individual for supposedly making a minority feel uncomfortable will ever be close to the equivalent of a lifetime of being a minority. Now, I am a minority, and I beg to differ. Middle school sucked as a chubby gay kid, but I imagine middle school always sucks for most people. But if you don't believe that quote-unquote PC people can enact real harm, people should watch the TED Talk How One Tweet Can Ruin Your Life by Jon Ronson and see what happened to Justine Sacco when she made a bad joke that people thought of as racist. It wasn't even racist, and it really did ruin her life. The 8th and final reason that being PC is not the way to be is that people who try to be PC under our current social climate don't treat themselves with respect. They constantly find ways to be upset, they lie, and they are generally miserable because they have been convinced that they have no agency and that being unhappy is basically inherently justified. It's like they have been told they deserve to suffer until they hop on the SJW bandwagon and change the world around them. And yet, the regressive left people that have told them to do this, the proponents of SJWism, have failed on all of the agendas they have attempted to pass, like losing the Brexit vote and getting Trump elected. I was actually just watching a video by Miss Misa about this, who is a content creator from the UK that you should check out on YouTube, that used to be an SJW. She has a video where she reads some of her old Facebook status updates for cringe factor, and it is remarkable how she looks back on those days, not only with disgust for herself, but wondering how anybody managed to stay friends with her because she was very miserable. As my channel grows, I come across more and more people who are recovering SJWs, and they all say it was an extremely miserable time for them as people. So if you are getting out of it, you made the first step towards truly making the world a better place. And that is treating yourself with respect. Drop me a comment and stay tuned.